A Spoon for Every Bite by Joe Hayes. A long time ago, there lived a couple who were so poor they owned only 2 spoons, one for the husband and one for the wife. Their neighbor was very rich. His big house was filled with fine furniture, and he was very proud of his wealth and possessions. One year, the poor couple had a baby, and the wife said to her husband, "Why don't we ask our neighbor to be the godfather of our child?" "But he's rich and we're poor," the man protested. "Why would he want to be our godfather?" "You never know," said the wife. "He might accept." So the poor man spoke to the neighbor, and the rich man did accept. They took the baby to be baptized, and the neighbors became their godparents. One day, the poor woman said to her husband, "Now that our neighbor is the godparents, we should invite him to eat supper with us this evening." "How can we do that?" the man asked. "We only have 2 spoons." So they didn't invite the rich man that day. They saved their pennies and they bought a 3rd spoon. Then the poor man invited his godfather to come for dinner. The poor woman made a delicious soup, and when the men arrived, she led the rich man to the place with the shiny new spoon. "Sit here, godfather," she said. "You get to use our 3rd spoon." The rich man could scarcely believe his ears. "Do you mean to say you only own 3 spoons?" he asked. "Until this morning, we only had 2, the poor man told him. "We bought a new one so that you can join us for dinner." The rich man laughed out loud. "You only have 2 spoons? And you bought a 3rd one for me to eat with? Why, I have so many spoons I could use a different one each day of the year if I wished to." The poor man was embarrassed, but the woman spoke right up. "That's nothing, godfather. We have a friend who uses a different spoon for every bite he eats." The rich man shook his head, but the poor man knew what his wife meant. "It's true," he said. "Our friend uses a different spoon for every single bite he eats." The rich man was so upset by the idea that someone might even live more lavishly than he did that he could not enjoy his soup. That night, he lay awake thinking about it. All those spoons he's thinking about. The next day, the rich man's servant came running to the poor man's door. "What did you give my master last night to eat?" he demanded. "He ate the same thing we did, the tastiest soup my wife has ever made." "Well, your soup must have driven him crazy. This morning at breakfast, he insisted on using a different spoon for every bite he ate. After one bite with the spoon, he ordered me to get rid of it." The poor godfather smiled to himself. "And what does your master tell you to do with the discarded spoons?" he told me. "Give them to my godparents. They only have 3 spoons." At lunch and at dinner, the rich man did the same thing. That night, the servant left a pile of spoons beside the door of the poor couple's house. The next day, the rich man kept asking for a new spoon for every bite. After 1 week, the servant informed him that there were no more spoons in the house. "Get me some more," the rich man growled. "Do you think I'm too poor to buy spoons?" The servant bought all the spoons in the town, and then they had to travel to other towns to buy spoons. The rich man began selling his livestock and land to buy spoons, and a mountain of spoons stood beside the poor couple's house. In a year, the rich man squandered all his wealth, and there were just 3 spoons in his house. And he walked angrily to the poor couple's house and pounded on the door. "You lied to me," he roared to them. "No one can use a new spoon for every bite. I have proved it. I was the richest man around, and not even I could do that." "You're mistaken," the poor man said. "Day in and day out, year in and year out, our friend uses a different spoon for every bite he eats." "Take me to meet your friend," the rich man demanded. The poor couple took their rich godfather to the nearby Indian pueblo. They went to their friend's house. The Indian and his wife welcomed the godfather and the couple and invited them to stay to eat a meal. "That's just what I came for," the rich man said. "I want to see you use a new spoon for every bite." "Spoon?" asked the Indian. "This is the only spoon I use," and he pointed to a stack of tortillas on the table. He broke off a piece of tortilla and scooped up some beans. The beans and the spoon disappeared into his mouth. "He'll never use that spoon again," laughed the poor man. Again, the rich man was too upset to eat his meal. He got up from the table and he walked home sadly. But the poor couple enjoyed every bite of their friend had served them, spoon and all. And then they walked home smiling. They knew that when they had sold all the spoons their rich godfather had thrown away, they would live the rest of their days in comfort. The